Much, Nicole, and welcome everybody. As Nicole said, this is our last presentation, and we hope we leave you with some inspiration as we set off to our holidays and find each other hopefully when we come back refreshed. Today I'm speaking about a buzzword that sometimes is not great. It's like COVID-19, it's the new normal. But the reality of the fact is that we are living in a new normal and that life has changed. And what can we now do to restore this? And what can we do to have a healthy family life again? If we just look at pictures of how life has changed, we see masks that we're wearing, we see the constant washing of hands, we see sanitizing, social distancing, restaurants that are empty, the elderly that are lonely, temperatures being taken. Our shops looks different and the horrible spacesuits of the ICU doctors. So that is why we need to realize that we entered something that we have never experienced before. And this is all about human development. And human development always meant change. We've always known that human life means adjustment to change. Change is inevitable for human beings, whether it's planned change or unplanned change. And change overall is usually and can be a challenge for human beings. And we are currently experiencing a massive, unpredictable change called COVID-19. And the human race actually now finds themselves in the midst of chaos. We can now talk about pre-pandemic. BC has changed to before Corona. We would never thought or imagine that before the pandemic, that toilet paper would be more precious than gold. So definitely lots have changed in our life. And in human development, as lives change, we now are experiencing a life no human has experienced before. As life begins and is starting again when we come through this, life will also not be like it was before. And this life is currently in change, is the ultimate form of change. So how does this change affect us? And how do we adjust to this change? It was said before that a human being who is healthy and okay is the one that can adjust the most quickest to circumstances. Those are the ones who get through stuff. So the one that can think on your feet, learning to dance on a moving carpet, that is how we do this and how we get through if we can adjust to change. If we just look at our current life, we'll see masks, we see sanitizing, temperatures regularly being taken, queuing is inevitable at the doctor, at the bank, at the schools, at the shops, social isolation, social distancing. Public transport looks different, and we are hyper vigilant of any symptoms. We do a double take when we see someone cough or sneeze. So everything has changed like that as well. The way we socialize is also now different. It's social distancing, social distancing, social distancing. No more birthday parties, plays, movies, overseas travel. We are not seeing our loved ones. The elderly, our grandparents are isolated, the fragile, the family and friends with health conditions, pregnant people, and we don't see them. And what has happened is that socially we've become morphed. There is no more touch. There is no more handshakes. There's no more hugs. There's no more kisses. I remember when we got back to school, one of the little girls told me her family dog had to be put down, and she was shaking as she was crying, and I couldn't console her with a hug. And it's definitely changed in such a lot of ways, which leads to loneliness, and it leads to isolation. And this sadness and this loneliness definitely impairs us, and it make us feel that we are in despair and isolation, and can lead to depression. The way we work and study change. Education has now changed as we know it. Schools and universities change their teaching to online. Online teaching then moved over to face-to-face, blending in with online, going back, move to online teaching again. At schools, we see masks, we see sanitizing, we see social distancing, we see our temperatures being taken before we go to school and at school. There's even an isolation room at school. Only certain amount of learners per class. No more sports, matric dances, parent feedback, social functioning, all that community that we shared, especially in a school like De La Salle. Also, work conditions have changed. Most people are working online. They don't travel with their work anymore, and they resort to Zoom meetings. Definitely, as we've spoken before about this, we are in a huge sense of loss, denial, anger, depression. And we need to realize when we go through these stages of grief, they are not in order. Some days we will feel extremely depressed, and then the next day angry, and then we will accept it again. And then we go back to denial again. And it's a whole circle of feelings because we are experiencing this trauma. So now we get to the point that is actually very important. What can we do to adjust to these circumstances as a family? First of all, we need to allow ourselves to grieve and to miss and mourn the old ways. When we've done that and dealt with that, we actually now leave space for the new normal. And I'll get back to the new normal. I don't like that term, but that's the new buzzword because I like to call it a brave new world. Secondly, we need to create routine in the family. There's no longer movies, there's no plays, there's no concerts. We need to create our own movie nights, our own play nights, our own concert nights as a family. Even can do online with other families, and we can have a great time. All of those technological things are possible. There are no gyms. We need to stay healthy so we can train together. We can do garage workouts. We can go running, cycling, walking. There are so many ways that we can stay fit. There's also no longer outdoor activities like game nights and things like that. We can create our own game nights online. We need to also do something special treats to ourselves, a latte or cappuccino before I read my emails, Zooming with friends. There is so many things that they come up with that they do to help them do new things and bring in a new way of thinking. It is said that if we write things down, whether if it's order to our day, our feelings, behavior, to have a journal is very therapeutic. Writing down is healing and therapeutic. And when we do that, we need to use the gratitude approach. There's so many things to be positive for. And when we allow that into our life, then our whole approach changes well. It's very important that inside our home, because we live in it day in and day out, to create a space within a space. Don't make your bed your workspace. It becomes too much. Have a workspace, have a play space, have a family connection space, have a gym space, a Zoom space. That is important that we create spaces to all the different things that we usually would do outside the home. We need to stay connected. That is so important that we do. Social distancing does not mean social disconnection. Even if it feels easier just to hibernate, that just breeds loneliness. Sometimes we can do a little. We need to try and connect our family and friends. And we can also do that in different ways. Very important that we also create pockets of joy. One breath sometimes in a day, one moment at a time, if life becomes difficult. We need to set realistic goals. Remind yourself that we are living actually in extraordinary times. So it's important to give yourself grace. And we need to adjust our expectations. For instance, the housekeeping can wait for today. We can wash the dishes later. There is more important things to do. Someone has an emotional overload and we can rather comfort them or go for a walk. There is so much in the home at the moment, workload of both parents, education online, to support all of that. Sometimes just give yourself a break and support your local restaurant, order a takeaway, or warm up a Woolies meal. It's very important that we stay informed but not alarmed. We need to adjust the trauma around us, and it's important that we keep an eye on the landscape that is constantly changing. But it's also important that we don't do the social media route. We don't use people that vex opinions, but rather get our resources from a reputable resource. And we need to place our emphasis these days on local development. There we help our community as well, rather than globally. So we support locally. So how can we react to this trauma? This is important. We need to know the positive psychology is so important. There are 3 routes to happiness. The first one is we need to create a pleasurable life. A pleasurable life, our ability to give ourselves pleasure. And that could be through training, through healthy food, through connection. It could be positive emotions, very important. Engage life. We need to engage in life, not step away from our life, but things in place in work, in our family. So that is a strength-based life. And the most important one is a meaningful life. We need to have purpose, meaning, in life. We should not underestimate the power of the spirit of our life, who are inside. That is so strong, and we have purpose and meaning in our life, we can overcome anything. Seligman has a model, he called it the PERMA model of well-being, and that includes positive emotion once again, positive engagement, positive relationships, meaning to life, and also accomplishments. Positive emotions are very important for our well-being. We need to look at emotions like joy, love, gratitude, awe, hope, inspiration. These are the emotions that we need to dwell around. Positive relationships in this time is imperative, and it's a buffer to loneliness and depression. I can really say I've been in the community of De La Salle for now 11 years, and the support of community and school was a buffer for me against all the downs in my life. And that's what we need to start in a family and also spread out to community. Meaning in life also help us to sustain through this challenging time. And it's very important that we practice gratitude. It needs to start in the community where we can support the vulnerable, environmental preparing, animal and safety, and true. As we give, we get, because we feel that coming back to us. It's important that we practice every day in the difficult time, gratitude at least 3 times a day. Look at a new day and say thank you. A new dawn, a shared meal, a sunset, something to be grateful for. Let's look a little bit deeper at positive relationships with family and community. In trauma, as I said before, we turn to community, we turn to family for support. Social connections and positive relationships lead, and that study's been done on it, to better physical health and better cognitive functioning. Dealing with stress and trauma in anyone's life is always easier when there's someone that we can lean on, that there's someone that supports us. Great times with family and friends we can still have, maybe now on a smaller scale, but we can still do that, and that produce positive emotions and always leads to happiness. We need to get unstuck from conflict, and we can do that by actively listening to each other, forgiving each other, being straight with the situation, learn to apologize, by focus on what we can change and what we cannot change. So we cannot change the fact that we are isolated and online, but we can change the fact how we're going to deal with this crisis. And need to focus, especially now, on the reality of the situation. I draw from a philosopher who's lived in the 1700s in Italy, in Rome, and it's Marcus Aurelius. And it says that life is not just merely being alive, but it's being well. And that the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. We need to know that we have power over our minds. We don't have power over outside events. And when we realize this, we have the strength to deal with anything. We often live in minutes, days, weeks, and months, but right now, the human race needs to pause. We need to reset. We need to breathe. We need to focus now on well-being and on staying well. It's very important in these times that we actually are flexible, and that will change a lot, and not rigid. Fixed patterns can have negative effects in relationships, especially under the circumstances of change. Thoughts like should be replaced. What can we do right now? If we are unhappy in our thoughts, we will be unhappy in our life. If we are flexible, then we can control whatever we need to. We don't have control over outside circumstances, for like instance, that the school or work now online, but we can create a happy school or work environment at home. And we go back to Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, back to the present moment, which it forced us, which is good. Instead of saying, here we go again, we need to focus on the present situation and say, what can we do in this situation? We need to learn to get in touch what really matters versus just being reactive. And as I said, I would like to replace the new normal with a brave new world, because we would come out of here, are come out of here, and better in a better way that we can deal with situations. And if we think of Aldous Huxley, and he's written this book, I think in 1931, it's about that you're a work in progress, and every day you learn new things about life. If we experience stuff like that, we can do anything. I always like to have beautiful quotes. For instance, healing doesn't mean that damage never existed. It means that the damage no longer control our lives. It's all about wellness. And if you carry joy in your heart, you can heal any moment. And we do not heal the past by dwelling there. We heal the past by living fully in the present. And I think if we do that, then we can overcome everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlise. That was a wonderful presentation. I just want us to go back to the main screen now. So I think you gave so many hopeful strategies, and I just like to let everyone know that we are recording this session. So if you've forgotten some of them and some of the tips and advice that Marlise gave, you will be able to access this recording from as soon as tomorrow. You can watch it again, or you can also pass it on to other parents who may have missed out on this web chat. So what I'd also like to ask is that if you have any questions or comments or thoughts, to please use the Zoom group chat function. So at the bottom of your Zoom, you'll see the chat bubble. You can press that, and you can send the message directly to me if you want to remain anonymous, or you can post it for everyone to see, and we'll then systematically work through all the questions and thoughts and comments. And I think while we wait for participants to type any questions, I'd like to maybe hear from the panel. So maybe we can start with Viviana, and then I'd hand over to Sister Cheryl, and just if they have any thoughts or comments about what Marlise has been talking about.
Okay, I might start. My connection is a bit unstable. I hope I'm coming through loud and clear. Okay, so I think, thank you, Marlise. It just feels like these past 4 presentations have really naturally culminated in such a positive ending. And I think it's really what we needed. I've felt that each presentation has allowed us to, and personally for me, allowed me to grieve the loss, acknowledge feelings, to think about our children going back to school, and the heaviness of what we're carrying, which all needs to be processed. But yet here we've got a tangible way of drawing on those positive emotions that are embedded in everything that we've been talking about, the concern we have for our children, the losses that we're experiencing, and the emotions of love and awe and gratitude are so ripe now during such a difficult period. So to draw on that, and then to extend that to what Marlise highlighted in terms of the power of relationships, in terms of this is what we have all around us, if it's in our community, if it's in our families. So to really draw on all of this into a brave new world, I think it's just beautifully summarized for us, and I just feel that it just holds a really solid way forward for us to reconceptualize this, dare I say it, at least, but new normal. So really just to progress into this brave new world. So thank you.
Thanks, Viviana. Sister Cheryl Ann, do you have any thoughts?
Thank you, Nicole. I love that term, a brave new world. And I just want to invite all of us. I think we all need to congratulate ourselves. What speed over the months we've never experienced before. And we've come out brave, we've come out stronger. We've learned so much over the past months. I mean, those of us that were, what did we call it, technologically stunted, we had to learn so many new things. And for parents, I know over the past weeks, parents struggled with, am I giving in, and is it too much screen time? Am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? But parents just need to know there was a man called Winnicott. He's on good parenting. And I think that's what we need to hold on to during this time, that you are good enough. You are good enough in whatever you're doing because you want the best for your children. We all want the best for our children. So I think we need to step back and congratulate ourselves. In years to come, we're going to look back at this time and we're going to say, wow, we lived through a time that nobody else in our generation has lived through. It hasn't been there before, but we lived through that time. And so, please, your presentation brought so much positive energy about us becoming more creative, more life-giving, and it just made you want to be full of that life that you presented to us. So those are my comments for the time and the brave new world that we're entering into.
Thanks, Sister Cheryl Ann. Yeah, Marlise, I think it was such a positive and informative presentation, and I know you put in a lot of effort. So I do want to commend you on that. Thank you very much. And you did it in such a caring way that I think, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm feeling a sense of hopefulness. And it's really nice, like Viviana said, for us to be ending the series of wellness web chats with this presentation, because it does feel very hopeful now. It actually feels quite manageable. So I do see a comment here asking about, so I'm just going to read the comment for everyone. I think that the ideas of locus of control are so important during this time. Containing emotions are important. I think as parents, we need to think carefully before we post on WhatsApp groups or how we respond to others this week. There are a lot of emotions running high, and everyone is at the end of their tethers. Positive emotion, relationships, and thoughts need to be foregrounded. Think, yes, everyone is trying really hard. It is the last week of term. There are emotions running high, but we also know that we have a holiday to look forward to. And I think Marlise has really given us really lovely skills and strategies that we can use in the holiday. So I'm not sure if it's the Marlise's excellent presentation that's left us all feeling quite hopeful and positive, or if it's because it's the end of a very long and tiring term, or if it's because over the past couple of wellness chats, everyone's gotten all their questions out. But for the first time, we actually don't have questions. It might be for those reasons. So I am going to give the participants maybe 1 or 2 minutes to just write any questions or thoughts they might. Then I'll hand back to the panel to give some closing thoughts.
Perhaps with your permission, Nicole, I can just say something.
Of course.
I think you did too good a job. There's no questions. It's like on behalf of the college to thank the wellness team for all their input over the past weeks. I just think it has been so well and practical in so many ways. And to all of you and to all the parents, I know our August holidays are going to be very different from August holidays we've had in the past. But I think those lovely practical tips that Marlise has given us, you've already been doing. I mean, our online teaching would not have been possible, the incredible support that you've received from parents. Trying to run your own businesses and your own careers and still being there for your children is just so indicative of our De La Salle Holy Cross community. Once more, it's come to the fore. And all our staff as well, doing online programs and the face-to-face teaching. We just pray that when we come back on the 31st of August, we can all be face-to-face again. We are called to be people of hope. We remain to trust all our trust in the Lord, and we pray that we will bring healing. And for me, it's not a new norm, but the brave new world from now on, Marlise. So thank you so much to everyone for that.
Thanks, Debbie. So it does seem that people are quite content with the well-executed and compassionate presentation that we had received. So I'd like to hand over to each of the panel members to give some closing thoughts. Obviously, we're ending a lot sooner than in the past. So maybe, I hope I haven't sprung this on you. Anyone willing to go first?
Yes, let me go. Yeah, I'm glad that the whole point of this was that we need to know about the power of the human spirit, and when we really invest in all of those things, as I said before, we can overcome anything. And it just brings us back to our roots and the basics of the now moment and what we can control, and allowing all of these things into our life. So I hope it was inspirational. That was the whole point of that, also to send away the community with love and care. So till we come back, I'm glad we've been of some assistance. Thank you.
What I just saw a comment about the holidays coming up and about the balancing working from homes and the children being there and not having the exciting holidays that we had in the past. And I'd like to emphasize what came through in Marlise's presentation as well, the being connected to others. And I know that, I mean, it's a month-long holiday, so find someone, find people in your life that you can connect with, that you can blow off steam with, and that can help generate that positive energy in your life as well. And I know that, I mean, we are always open to the connection and connecting with us. So there are people out there that's willing to be that connection on the other side, that's willing to help you generate that positive energy again, because as it won't be easy not having an exciting holiday where you can let your steam and just run around. But we're going to find new and creative ways of being together with family before those teams, still maintaining the precautions that we need to, but those are the things that we need to do. Find a good dear friend that you can have a Zoom coffee meeting with and unload. That is important during this time.
All right. I think in closing, I want to wish everyone a wonderful rest as possible with having kids at home. I'm sure all the parents will relate that it's going to be tricky. But I wish you rest and downtime, connecting, so that we can find that serenity and inspiration that Marlise really touched on. And I think for me, in closing this web chat series, I just want to thank the community for being that inspiration. We've all had to adapt. We've all had very circumstances. Being in the classrooms has actually been very interesting too, with the kids, and seeing how resilient they are. So this has been an inspirational time to reflect on, even though it has felt like a storm, and it has felt intense. If we just take moments during these holidays just to reflect on the past couple of months, I think it can really push us through positively. So thank you to everyone for being an inspiration during this time, and I'm sure we can all draw from each other some wonderful story of hope that we can pass on.
Thanks, Vivian. Yeah, just to my colleagues, it's so important for us to stay connected, even though we are in isolation. And if you are feeling overwhelmed or stressed, or like you're not coping, or if you have those concerns for another parent or a student, a colleague, whoever it may be, it's so important to reach out. And like Sister Cheryl Ann said, we, the wellness team, are here. We are available for you. You can drop us an email, or you can use the helpline. So you can email helpline@dlshcch.co.za. So that's also an option. Or you can use the school app. So please reach out and try to connect. What's been really nice is how we transitioned over the past couple of weeks when we started the Wellness Web Chat series with Sister Show and presenting the return to school. Then we spoke about loss and how to cope with loss, the loss of lockdown. And then Viviana took us through how to manage our feelings. And our Marlise has closed off with positive psychology and the brave new world. So I think it's been a really nice journey with everyone, and I want to thank everyone for joining us. Obviously, a big thank you to my colleagues, the wellness team, and the other staff members from De La Salle. And then thank you to everyone who's joined us and participated in these wellness web chats. I think it's been very thought-provoking. So I think that's it for today. You know, we're done with 15 minutes to spare, but it seems like everyone is feeling quite content for us to end there. So I then end the final saying, keep well, stay safe in this brave new world. Bye, everyone.